All right, so this hunk of kit is the ThinkPad X1 Fold from Lenovo. This is the world's first foldable laptop, and it's a tablet slash laptop, right? It's a hybrid device. It's one of the coolest laptops I've ever played with. It's super cool, and of course, it's not for everybody, and it's a Gen 1 device, so it has Gen 1 challenges, but generally speaking, this is the kind of stuff that I love to review and I love to play with. So even though I've been demonetized, so there goes the 20 bucks a month I was making off of YouTube. It's true. I don't know why I've been demonetized. I just have been, and I can't get a straight answer out of Google, which means that they don't know either. It's just life. But anyway, this is why I'm going to continue to do this channel. It's because I love getting my hands on cool stuff like this. And Lenovo would not be sending this to me if I didn't have a YouTube channel. So thank you, Lenovo, for your partnership over all these many years. Thanks to all of you who have subscribed. But no thanks to YouTube. I cannot grow this channel anymore. But anyway, here we are. So the X1 Fold. I mentioned that it has some Gen 1 challenges. I'm going to walk you through those. I'm also going to give you a general tour of the device and the things that I like about it so far and the things that, the jury's still out. I just recently got this, so I've only put a few hours into it, and I haven't even connected my own Microsoft account yet. I've just been sort of playing around with the thing. So we'll get there. We'll get a full deep review at some point. But for right now, I just wanted to get this on camera and share it with all of you because I think it's so awesome. Okay, so first of all, the overview. You get this really nice leather, it looks like a book, right? This whole thing looks like a book. It has a spine like a book, and it's all made out of leather, or at least a leatherette of some kind. So Lenovo did a great job just giving this a unique feel. If this were aluminum, or it wouldn't bend, but if this were some kind of like hard plastic with you could see the ribbing on it, like on the Galaxy Z Fold 2 from Samsung, like it wouldn't have the same elegance. This has a certain sense of elegance, and it tells you that this is a serious device. It's for serious people. So there's that. Now it has this loop for your pen, and as you probably just saw there, this is connected to the keyboard, which is detachable. It's all magnetic. So if you don't want this loop on there, you're only going to see it when you've got the keyboard, and there might be a way to remove this entirely if you don't like it. Now the pen, which we'll come to a little bit later, it is all included, okay? So you get the keyboard, the computer itself, and the pen, all for a starting price of $2,500, and we'll get to the processor and all that here in a bit. Okay, so you're seeing a lot of stuff in here, and as already alluded to, that includes the keyboard. So first of all, you got USB-C. This is great for charging, but not only what it's for. You have an exhaust here, and then in the middle is the keyboard, and then down here is just part of the display, okay? Now on this side, again with the exhaust, from what I can tell, this button does nothing. It might be reserved for a higher tier version of the device. I don't know what it does, but you can't even press on it. It's just sort of there. Maybe it's for 5G if you want to put in a SIM, but again for different models, but then again there's no ejector. So I don't know, maybe it's a spring-loaded one on higher end models. Here it's just a dummy, it doesn't do anything. I believe these circles are microphones, and then you have your volume adjustment and your power. And on the other end, just another exhaust, really trying to keep this thing cool. And then, that's all. Although something kind of interesting is that the keyboard charges through micro USB, and then the device itself charges through USB-C. That inconsistency is a Gen 1 issue, in my opinion. It's not super cool that that's the way it is, but I think it might be just because of the size of the USB-C port. It would make the keyboard thicker, which then would impact how they make the entire device, because the keyboard, as you can tell, fits snugly inside. Now you also have this kickstand. Okay, so you can stand the computer up this way, or if it's in full laptop mode, you'll see how that works in a moment. Okay, so Lenovo thought of everything when it came to usability of this thing, just from a physical standpoint. Now let's talk about from more of a software end. Before we dive into that, we got to talk about specs. So this model, every model actually, comes with an i5 L16G7. Now if you're not familiar, this is a weaker, lower end CPU, but still requires a fan to keep it cool. It is a 5-core, 5-thread CPU with a 4 MB L2 cache. This one has 8 gigs of RAM. I don't believe you can get up to 16. It starts with 256 gigs of PCIe SSD storage. It can go up to 1 TB. and my model has 256. So I basically have the low end one for 2,500 bucks. You can get it on sale right now from Lenovo for 2,000. So Lenovo constantly runs sales. I talk about it every time I talk about Lenovo devices. It's not uncommon to save 20% on any given day, sort of like Dell. But I think Lenovo's a little more consistent with their discounts than Dell. Dell's are just confusing. But anyhow, that's what you get in here. Okay, the fun part. What are we, 10 minutes into this? Okay. Now from this perspective, it just looks like a laptop, but it's more than just a laptop. You see, this keyboard, which allows it to function as a laptop, is removable. Okay, so this is a wireless Bluetooth keyboard, and all you do is turn it on by flipping the, okay, hang on. See how simple? You just spin the dial, you get a green indicator light telling you that the darn thing is on. If it's flashing, then it's pairing. To pair it, by the way, you hold down the Bluetooth button for 3 seconds, and then it will kick in, and Swift will turn on Windows, and then you can pair it. This is an ultra thin keyboard. Like, they should just sell this keyboard. This is, first of all, it's adorable. Like, look how small it is. Look at the tiny trackpad. But it's also a really good keyboard. Somehow, despite being super thin, it's still one of the better keyboards out there. So Lenovo continues to crush it with their keyboards. Now, to power the thing on, you can hold down the power button. But first, let me just do this a few times for you. Huh? How cool. Look at that. Okay. Love it. Can do this all day. All right. So this is what it's like when it's fully folded out. It even still has a bit of a bend to it. It might be hard to see, but this is not laying completely flat. See? See how it's not entirely flat? But that's okay, because you're probably not going to use it in that position. What you're probably going to do is bust out the kickstand, like that, set it down. Okay. Sorry, I don't have great equipment here, and now I never will because I'm demonetized. And then you have your keyboard, and away you go. So you hit the power button right there, which is not an unusual power button spot. Hear that? Just powered on, right? You got the fans kicked in, away we go. Okay, while it's booting up, let's talk about the screen. So I think the screen is lovely. It has really good color representation, and you can definitely see the crease in the middle, and you can feel it when you run your finger by it. But I'm telling you, I've had foldable devices before, like the Galaxy Z Fold 2. It's not a big deal. I can't stress that enough. It's really not a big deal. It doesn't look super cool because, oh my gosh, there's a bend in it, but it works fine, okay? So just keep that in mind. It works totally fine. Okay, you get a webcam right there. I don't believe it has Windows Hello, although we'll have to check that to be totally certain. Put the kickstand back up. Okay. This is how long it takes to boot up. So if you're like me and you've been spoiled by the new M1 Max, this is one of the reasons why it's going to be hard for me to switch back to Windows on a mobile device. Right now I use a Windows desktop for my gaming and daily work, but I like the M1 Max because they turn on right away. So I use that as a laptop. Okay, what is the deal? All right, I don't know what's going on here, but these are the kind of things that you get with Gen 1 devices. You get a little buggy here and there. So let me see if I can get this. Maybe it's just stuck in a mode. Ah, rotation lock was on. Okay, bam. All right, so now here we go. As you can see, keyboard reacts perfectly. Let me bring this in the frame a little better. And you can just use it as you would any other computer. Let's go WordPad. Okay, Trackpad it's tiny, but it's super responsive. It works. Testing out the new X1 Fold by Lenovo. This device is, hey, I can use the F word because I've been demonetized. Freaking awesome. Oh my heck. There we go. All right. And of course, I made a mistake. Hey, a dedicated emoji button. I didn't notice that until now. All right, so if you're gonna do things like this, right, you're just gonna browse or you're gonna, do some word processing, you're not gonna have any issue with this device, okay? Let me just bring this up a smidge. But if you wanna do some serious hardcore gaming, you're in the wrong place, guys, and I don't think that's a surprise. It probably didn't even need to say it. Okay, so other modes that this supports. Now that I've got the rotation lock figured out, so you can set it down like this, set the keyboard on top of it, and I don't know if you noticed that, it was kind of subtle, but the start menu just kind of scooted up to the middle. Okay, so if I remove the keyboard, it slides back down. Okay, so now I can go full screen and I've got both screens in use. I can type and touch on the bottom if I wanted to. I can use a virtual keyboard just like that. That was oddly fast. And away I go. Or I can just set this down, and Lenovo programmed it such that the computer detected the keyboard, was connected, and then switched it to a standard little screen here. Okay, so now my start menu is in the middle, where it should be given the perspective that I'm using. And now I can put this on my lap, I can put it on a tray table on an airplane, and I've got a smaller screen to work with than I would if I had, any other ThinkPad computer like this one. But hey, not bad. Now, for comparison, here's the device next to the 11-inch iPad Pro. Okay, so the 11-inch iPad Pro has a bigger display and in this mode and occupies more physical space, but it has much thinner bezels and it has a better writing experience. But you're gonna have to get a separate keyboard if you wanna match the functionality of the X1 Fold. So we should talk about the pen. The pen is standard, right? It's a standard basic pen. You get a couple of buttons. It charges over USB-C. You unplug the back, you plug this in, and then it charges. The battery life on the pen is fantastic, but it doesn't do very much, right? It's not well integrated into Windows, and that's not really Lenovo's fault so much as it is just a Microsoft thing. So let me fire up Paint. Because you can't test a machine without testing Paint. Oops. All right, so here's the drawing experience, real quick. All right, so I intentionally went like really fast, okay, just so you can kind of see. It's not great, right? The response time is fine. Surprisingly, it doesn't really feel like it's laggy at all, but it's not a super accurate sort of, you're not going to be coloring any masterpieces, particularly if you're me, but you're not going to color any masterpieces using this pen. But if you want to take handwritten notes, I think you're in a pretty decent spot. Now, I don't have any handwriting note-taking apps installed here, but just to give you an idea of sort of what this looks like. Today in class, I learned to spell. Okay, so the handwriting, it doesn't pick up very smoothly, right? All the write, stop, write, stop, write, when you're creating letters and words, the system doesn't like it very much. And I don't think it's the pen, because Lenovo they've made some pretty good pens over the years. I think it's just the integration between pen input and Windows, right? They're just not friends. So you can take handwritten notes with this. You're not going to have a problem doing so. It just may not be the most eloquent thing. Now, if you were to get a dedicated app for this, you might have a better experience. I don't own one. I'm not going to buy one. If you want to recommend one, I'll put it in the final review. One that's free at least, I'll put it in the final review. But it just, out of the box experience, doesn't compare to something that you get with the Apple Pencil 2 or even the Samsung S Pen, which I think is fantastic on the Samsung phones and on the Samsung tablets. So this device, while it does support pen input, it's not exactly made for that, right? It's made for, I think it's more of a showcase device. I don't think Lenovo expects a lot of people to buy this. And if they do, a lot of people buy it and become successful, they'll make a second one. And I think this is just a glimpse into the future. Like I mentioned some Gen 1 problems already, like, the keyboard charging through different means than the laptop itself. Here's another Gen 1 problem, right? This finish along the outside is a rubber coating, okay? So that when you close it, okay, there's no damage being done to any of the components, right? Whether the keyboard's in here or not. But it's not a very good looking finish, right? I don't know if this will come through on camera, but what I see here is a lot of oil. Okay, and then of course it attracts dust and lint because of the nature of the material, and it's a bit staticky. And that's going to happen. Like there's no such thing as like a perfectly clean, there's no device that cleans itself, right? But that's a Gen 1 problem. Like eventually Lenovo's going to work out a coating that's more dust resistant, more oil resistant, thinner bezels, thin to the point where it's still used. You don't want to be too thin, right? But thin enough it's still usable, and just a better overall, more elegant experience, right? So Lenovo's investing in the future with this device by creating this really usable Gen 1 device, and they were going to need sales, I would imagine, to support them. But they are the number one manufacturer of computer hardware in the world, laptops specifically. So I think that they have got the traction and the money to continue experimenting, and I'm very grateful that they did. So anyhow, hard to recommend this device unless you're a super nerd like me and you want to play around with the only foldable computer in the world right now. This thing it's awesome. I mean, you can consider the phones computers too, but you know what I mean. Like, this isn't, excuse me, this is in the category of computer, okay? Whereas the phones are in category phone. So this is the only one out there. And if you want to play around with something like this, it's not going to hold you back very far. Like, you can still get your work done. Maybe you won't be editing video if that's what you're into, editing photos. It just doesn't have the horsepower to really do those things. I mean, they'll get done. I doubt they would crash, but they're not going to be lightning fast like they would be on an iPad or on a regular laptop. But it's a fun experiment for sure. And it's really compact and portable. So there's that. Now I have to do the battery life test, and I might install Steam and just see what happens, but this is not meant to be a gaming device. So I'll get a full review out there eventually. I just wanted to first start with this overview because it's such a strange, unique device that it just requires a sort of like general tour first. So, okay, justification aside, that's it for now. I'll come back with a more in-depth review later on. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.